Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
A man of valor and commitment, Mr. Kamlesh is heading business operations at Edelweiss Tokio Life Insurance, Mumbai, India. He was also the head of Cigna TTK Health Insurance Company Limited. He has also served as the Senior Vice President, Financial Crime and Operation Risk Management, and also Vice President, Provider Management at ICICI Prudential Life Insurance Company Limited. Mr. Kamlesh is highly committed and a focused professional with sound interpersonal and leadership quality. He also possesses extensive experience across insurance domain with specialization in risk management. We are indeed privileged to have you among us, sir.
Thank you.
On behalf of the entire college, I extend a hearty welcome to you. I now request Mr. Kamlesh Manuja to kindly take over this session.
Thank you. Hi, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I'm audible to the back people? Okay. Where's the pointer? This one? Okay, before I start, I was here yesterday and, honestly, very, very impressed with the way the Sahyadri campus is, the way this entire conclave is created. From my side, heartiest congratulations and, for completing a decade of excellence, not only in the field of educations and in fact what I was hearing in introduction, be it on the ranking in terms of institute, ability to perform, but also, being the best amongst the extracurricular activities. So I think my congratulations and appreciations to the institute and to everyone. Before I start my presentation, my sincere gratitude and thanks to the faculty here, to the director, to the chairman of this institute, to entire members of Sahyadri staff and my best friend Ramesh for giving me an opportunity to be amongst you all. I'm feeling little nostalgic because being from an MBA bit, I've heard some sessions on the other side. I think it's a challenge to meet the expectations of everyone in this room. So I'll try my best what I could do here. So while I start, I probably want to set one or two ground rules. I have an experience of close to 20 years, okay, across in insurance, I would rather say that way in a simple terms, both on the life and the health side, okay. I put a small presentation for each member in this room purely to give you a sense of what goes behind the pictures, because I'm sure if you pick up internet, if you pick up, textbook on health or life insurance, broadly you'll get the concept. I think my earnest request to each one of you, understand the rationale or logic why a particular activity or a process is done from an end benefit point of view. So I will probably talk more on logic and rationale rather than talking about a theory in such that way, and also give you a small glimpse of where we are as an individual, as a country, and what we want to aspire to. Okay, feel free to stop me at any point of time. Feel free, to raise your hand, ask questions, because it's important. This is your session. It's important that you pick up at least one or two points for you to understand this entire concept. Okay, so I'm starting with the presentation here. What we'll do, while the theme is talking about operational efficiencies, yesterday in the first half, I think from ICICI Bank session, we heard various form of technologies, including blockchain and all those things. I'm actually going to talk about how insurance companies are changing, how the processes are being evolved, and what is the to be state to be. Because when you step out, maybe in your job world or choosing a particular career opportunity, at least I'm sure you'll have some sense after today how insurance back office functions. Okay, this is a small quote, but very, very relevant for all of us. It is not a question of big or small, a student or teacher. It is very, very important how fast you are, how agile you are in your delivery mechanism. Because it is the victory of a fast beating the slow. Okay. This is a quick agenda where I'll talk about what is digital context in India. Is there an opportunity in insurance? Before we do this, how many of you have taken any form of insurance here? Can I have raise of hands? I think not more than 10 people. Can you raise your hands a little higher? I think I can see only 7 or 8 of us. Do you know what type of insurance exists? There is a life insurance, right? What do they cover? Okay, one person allowed. What do they cover? Life insurance covers life. Yeah, it's a better way to put it. Life insurance offer two things. It gives you a benefit, or rather, if you choose, there are broadly two types of a plan. An investment plan, which means you put your money into a life insurance with an expectation that during the maturity of a policy, you get benefit out of it. In a simple word or a colloquial word, it's a fixed deposit which you do. Instead of putting into a bank, you put in insurance. After a particular period, you get your money back. Now, there are different structures. You have a money back types, which happens at a fixed interval, or you have the entire lump sum corpus accumulated like a recurring deposit at the end of the year. The second bit, which ideally life insurance should be known for, is protection, which means in case if the person dies, there is a family left behind who gets this entire corpus. That's the pure life insurance which I'm talking about. In a fancy term, it is labeled as term insurance policies, and I'm sure some of you would have heard this now. The second form of insurance is health insurance. Okay, if you fall sick, if you go to hospitalization, you get benefited. Okay, or you get diagnosed with an ailment, you get benefited. The third part of an insurance, which is more of regulatory, it's like getting your motor insured, getting your house broadly. There are laws in separate countries. Example, if you look at the US, almost 90% of the population is taking some form of home insurance available. In India, the penetration is very small. But broadly, these are the ones which insurances are available. The third part is, do we need digitization? Okay. If I don't digitize, what happens? When was the first life insurance company got evolved or formed in India? Which was the one? It was LIC. I heard some whispers. It was LIC. It was formulated in 1956. Broadly, if I were to tell you, from 1956 till 2000, they were actually doing their processes onto an Excel sheets, floppies, or through a register or a manual, broadly. Okay. And post that, when the privatization happened, lot amount of technology solutions got opened up, and the market itself evolved on that particular bit. So it's not that insurance can't be run onto pen, paper, Excel, but still, do we need digitization, where we are kind of talking about? And lastly, to make the concept more penetrated, there are a few case studies which I'm going to talk about. We'll go through in details. Okay, few statistics, and it tells you that what is Indian demographics looking like. Currently, as recent, we've got 75% of the people with mobile phones, and these are active mobile users. Okay, 69% of the people who have mobile are using internet, on a very, very frequent bit, which means these people also have smartphones available with them. 72% of the web pages are using through mobile phones. So if you really look at, essentially the point which I wanted to tell you, earlier we used to have big desktops available, which got converted into laptops, converted into tablets, and now these tablets have come into mobile phones. Okay, so that's the market. The screens have got smaller, but the benefits are exponentially being reaped by the common user. WhatsApp and Facebook, these are the two very, very strong social media platforms which today the entire world is using, and India is no different. Okay, and I'll talk about how this information is going to be beneficial for the future insurers. Lastly, almost, if you were to take an average, which is, if you really look at India as compared to other evolved markets, we are 2 times more using internet than the other countries. Okay, we are actually utilizing a lot amount of population which is adapting to digital India, which is the first 3 blocks which I talked about, using smartphones as compared to any part in the world. Okay, we are actually overtaking or beating China on that particular bit. And lastly, we've got 138 million. Again, this is active. Otherwise, if you really look at it, the number is almost 2x from where we are. Okay. Essentially, the point I want to talk to you and highlight to you is, you as an MBA professionals, if you were to move out, do marketing stint, finance stint, please be mindful of the fact is, world is no longer a programming which is moving onto laptops, desktops. If you were to create a UI, if you were to create an offering, if you were to come out with an innovation, it is actually going to be how specific, targeted, crisp you are using a mobile device. This is an opportunity, and this is probably to highlight what this sector is, what India is all about. If I have to look at general insurance, okay, general insurance largely has 3 components which I talked about. The first one is what you call it, property and casualty, which is your home insurance, your property insurance, your fire insurance, your marine insurance. That comes as a part of PNC, as a part of general insurance. The second part is health, which in India, health is a part of general insurance as well as standalone. There is a government, the regulator, which is IRDA, has given approval to have a life insurance operations, to have a general insurance operation which can sell health, and there is a mono line which is called a stand-alone health insurance, which also is kind of opened up some 3 years before in the country. So there are 3 streams of insurance operating in India. Okay, so and the third one is your overall motor insurance which is being operated. So if you really look at all 3 combined, if you really look at where we are as a part of our GDP penetration, okay, and if you were to look at the overall of the GDP where per person from a capita contributes, India is way, way, way behind. Okay, the way our government policies are changing, and I'm sure all of you are reading, government had launched its mandatory social schemes. They called it as Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Bima Yojana. They call it Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana. These are the yojanas, which is the schemes which have launched for the poor. Okay, and as a country, almost 3% insurance is given by government on those particular bits. Okay, the reason I am highlighting this particular bit to all of you, because that itself is a very, very big market, which means all the social schemes, and you will see hopefully the way talks are going on in this entire budget, there is a huge emphasis on social schemes for poor, social schemes for needy. I don't know all of you are aware of, with 300 rupees, just with your SMS which you send to your respective banks, they have a Pradhan Mantri Bima Yojana, which means you can take 2 lakh rupees cover of a life insurance at 330 rupees. You just do a short code and you get an accidental cover of 2 lakh rupees, or 2 lakh rupees, yeah, sum assured, at mere 12 rupees, which is 1 rupee a month. Okay. The reason I'm highlighting is the social security schemes which will happen in India, which is mere less than 2%. Our overall insurance penetration, if you look at in this room, only 10 of us raised our hand that we have some part of insurance. If you really ask me, do we value our life? Yes, no. Do you think it requires protection? Okay, but if you really look at it, we've not taken it. It's not that we don't want to take it. If you really ask me, the reason why we don't have taken an insurance is something like, meko kuch nahi ho sakta. There's nothing which will happen to me, right? I'm fit and fine, I'm healthy, everything is going good. If you really look at it, that's the problem. As a youngster, if you start your policy earlier, your premiums are going to be very, very low. Okay, and the reason is because a mortality or morbidity is very, very low in young age. The problem happens, The moment we develop blood pressure, diabetes, or other complications, then we think about insurance. And sometimes it's too late, or at that stage our insurance premium will increase, because with any adversity, your premiums have to be compensated. So your insurance companies will act little tougher in terms of charging your premium, because a healthy guy's premium are very different as compared to a substandard guy. Okay, so if you really ask me, while we are at 0.77, there is an opportunity to move, okay, leftwards of this axis is to move to a US. You know what the unique part about US is? Anybody? There is a social security which is being offered to every individual in the US. Okay. Do you know what percentage of the population pays tax in US? In India is less than 10%. What do you think the US will be? It's close to 90%. Which means their social security is close to 90%. There is some stray people which don't pay because they do a loss of job, they are exempted by from a government demographics point of view or from a social status point of view. They are also covered in some part. I would request all of you, those who are interested into insurance, there's a scheme called Blue Cross, there's a scheme called Blue Shield. Please go through it. You will get more details on that particular bit. The point here which I wanted to highlight to you is, from a India point of view, okay, and from a US point of view, US is almost spends, okay, more than 3 trillions into the health insurance part. India is not even 1/10 of the overall expenditure what we do. Okay, if you really look at the way state of our Indian insurance is, if you look at in this class, we only have got less than 5% of the population insured. In India, there are corporates and governments who are insured in some part of health insurance or life insurance which they offer to their employees. Per se, less than 15% of the country's population is insured in any form, including the government securities. Okay, which means 85% of the people are actually not insured, which means there is no insurance if tomorrow something were to happen. The second important part, what you people need to figure it out, people who are insured also through their employees, through government, even in government, they give a cap of 30,000 rupees in a death or in a health scenario. Okay, which means if something happens to them, they actually almost 80% of the times put hand in their pocket, borrow loans to take insurance benefit or to avail a health benefit. Okay, which means not only our coverage is poor, our insurance overall in terms of making sure that the eligibility of the person is also very, very low. And hence that second part, if you really look at as a penetration, we are only, if you really look at, we are at $47,